So, I said in a few videos ago that I was gonna make a video on this, but then I decided not to. I thought maybe I won't bother because I just don't really feel educated on the matter enough to really voice my opinions on it. But then this morning I saw on Twitter somebody sharing a video that somebody had made basically defending JKR and saying about how they stand with her, and it made me a little bit mad, it made me a little bit annoyed. So I watched the video, or I listened to the video, I watched it just to see what this person had to say on the matter, and I decided that I was going to come on here just to voice my opinions. I don't really want to delve too far into the situation. I originally wanted to just make a kind of video discussing how I felt moving forward with what J.K. Rowling had said, how I felt moving forward about the world of Harry Potter, because it's very near and dear to my heart. I've been a fan for years. I have lots of memorabilia. I'm currently rereading the books. I was about to start The Goblet of Fire when all of this kicked off. So I knew I wanted to make a video discussing just how I felt about the situation, about JKR and Harry Potter. But then I decided not to bother. I thought, what really is the point? But then after seeing this video, I did kind of decide I wanted to come on here and just have a little sit down chat. I'm not going to get too into it. I'm not going to be pulling up facts and receipts. That's not really what I'm about. But I did just want to kind of get a few things off my chest and just how I felt. So the first thing I want to touch upon, obviously, if you've clicked on this video, you know a few weeks ago, or was it just a week ago? I can't actually remember. Time just doesn't exist anymore. J.K. Rowling posted a few tweets in relation to transgender, trans women. I don't even remember now. What did she share? An article? She's always been a bit problematic on the subject. That's the thing. She's always been a bit problematic on this subject. But it was the other week she shared. Did she share an article? And she was almost kind of making a joke out of it, because she was like, "I'm pretty sure there's a word for that. Wimber, woman." And I was like, okay. So that tweet in itself I felt like was a bit insensitive, making a joke essentially. And then obviously it stemmed from, she was posting about sex, how if sex, she was saying something like, oh, I don't even want to look it up, if sex doesn't exist, it's erasing. Basically, J.K. Rowling, I feel like she's of that generation where the issue of transgender is almost new to them, or they don't understand them, and they're very set in their ways, in the sense of, well, women have vaginas and men have penises, and if you have a penis you're a man, if you have a vagina you're a woman. They're very set in their ways of the terms of sex. Like I say, I don't feel educated enough on the matter to really talk about stuff like this in depth. I feel like the subject of transgender is a very sensitive one. It is a very sensitive subject, because if you don't understand it and you say the wrong thing and you offend people, you're going to be labelled as transphobic. That's why I'm always so afraid to speak up in these kind of things, because I don't feel educated enough on the matter to. There's also the thing I think as well, you could maybe say something transphobic without intentionally meaning it, but I don't want to offend anybody. I know trans people. That argument, she used that argument about how she's friends with gay people and trans people, and I'm like, that's great, you could be friends with them, but you could still be transphobic. But I do know like trans people, and I would never want to offend anybody. So I feel like if I'm confused about something, or if I just don't feel educated enough, I wouldn't want to say it. I'm not gonna start posting to Twitter saying like, oh, well, I am a woman, and how dare you try and erase my gender. In the video that I just watched, the person was going on a lot about how basically about how like different things are trying to almost erase gender, in the sense of like always the tampon people, the tampon brand were removing like women from, I don't know, does it say always for women? Was that what it was? They were removing like the word women from the title, and obviously it's the whole thing with J.K. Rowling saying about like people who menstruate, you mean women, and it's a very touchy subject. But at the same time, it's like, well, trans women are women. Trans women are women. Trans men are men. End of discussion. That's all that needs to be said in it. If you maybe disagree with that, or you feel like, no, actually, transgender men are transgender men. Transgender women are transgender women. They're not proper women, they're trans women. No. Just No. This is one of those things where you will upset and offend people if you say things like that. And that is why that video that that woman has just posted is causing a lot of upset. And it's because you can try and defend J.K. Rowling, and yes, I will admit, when I read J.K. Rowling's blog post the first time, and I'm scrolling through it and I'm reading it, I was like, wow, she's making some valid points. But then I realized the only reason I thought she was making good points is because she's so eloquently spoken. She's using good words. She's not just straight up saying, I don't think that trans women are women, I don't think that trans men are men. She wasn't straight up just saying that. She's putting it in an eloquent way. I was reading it and I was kind of like, it took me a moment, I think, when I really focused in on what she was saying. I was like, hang on a minute. This ain't right. That's not right. She can word it as, she's an author. She can word things as fancily and as nicely as she wants. And people like me might be taken in by it and think, okay, she's making some points. However, I don't feel like people should now be coming out with videos trying to defend her. Girl. No matter how eloquently she put it, no matter how many fancy words and nice ways she phrased it, at the end of the day, she was being transphobic. Does that make sense? This is why I don't like to talk about this kind of things, because I just don't feel educated enough on the matter. But I should be more educated. I should educate myself more, and it kind of has inspired me more to be more educated on this subject. But anyway, moving on. I feel like trying to defend J.K. Rowling is not the way forward. It's up to her to then come out and say, okay, I'm sorry, or I'm not sorry, this is just how I feel. And that is just going to be her. Anybody who then tries to nitpick and go through everything that she said and say, well look, if you really listen to it and see the way that she's phrased it, it's actually not that bad. Or she's making some valid points because biologically, and listen, this is why I feel like the subject of transgender is a sensitive one, because people will rely on science, biology, and that's your choice. That's your choice. But I feel like in this day and age, moving forward, being inclusive, making people feel valid. I'm sweating. I'm gonna have to take this off. I'm sweating. I'm getting heated. I do feel like it is one thing to want to rely on biology and say, well, biologically there's only men and there's only women. At the end of the day, you know what my main thing is? I remember like back a few years ago when like I really was first noticing like transgender, trans women, trans men for the first time, and I wouldn't say I was confused by it, but I was definitely just unaware, or you just don't really, it's something you don't really understand unless you're going through it yourself. But I feel like the best thing to do for something like that is to, number one, educate yourself, and number two, just be inclusive. Don't say things on the internet that can come off as offensive. Don't say it out loud. Don't say it to anybody. Write it in your diary if you care that much about it. But there's no need to then broadcast these thoughts online, especially when you have 14.5 million followers, because then it will create a war. Because you're gonna have people who support you and you're gonna have people that hate you, and it's just gonna make Twitter a horrible place. And that's what drives me mad. It's when people who have big followings feel the need to make comments like this. But at the same time, fair play to her. She made those comments. She exposed herself for what she really is. Moving on a little bit more than that, I want to kind of just touch upon something that the girl mentioned in her video, which was about how most people that are speaking up about trans and are gunning for J.K. Rowling aren't actually trans themselves. They're trans, she was calling them like trans rights activists, and how they're the ones that do most of the speaking up, and they're not even trans themselves, and you know, why is it them? And like she was saying about how the Harry Potter cast was talking about it and voicing their opinions, and they don't need to, or they shouldn't. And I remember thinking to myself, like while I was listening to this, I was like, okay, so are you trying to say that white people shouldn't speak up about racism because we're not black? Because racism doesn't affect us? Are you trying to say that animal rights activists shouldn't speak up for the sake of animals because we're not animals? What? What kind of logic is that? No. That is, no. There's, number one, there is strength in numbers. And number two, you can fight for a cause that doesn't affect you. Straight people can support gay rights. White people can support the Black Lives Matter movement. Men and women can stand up for and support transgender rights. Why do you have to be going through something yourself to stand up for it? That doesn't apply. That does not apply in this situation. Because if I, a straight white girl, stayed quiet and did nothing, I would get called out for being silent. Silence is compliance. I would get called out for being silent. You can stand up and fight for something that you believe in. You can stand up and fight with your friends. Okay, so I got interrupted, but basically what I was kind of saying was, it really pissed me off that in the video this girl was so mad, or kept on saying about how non-transgender people were speaking up about trans rights. And I thought to myself, are you dumb? Are you actually dumb? Like I said, white people can speak up about racism against black people, about Asian people, about any minority ethnic. Straight people can speak up for gay rights. It makes you a decent human being. People defend animals. There are animal rights activists. They're not animals. You don't have to be an animal to defend an animal's rights. So what's the issue? How can you then say that non-trans people shouldn't speak up about trans issues? Where's the logic in that? Because then it would just be a smaller group of people speaking up and another group of people being silent. Whereas if they all come together to make a mass group defending these people's rights. But the video is a separate issue from J.K. Rowling, and I really more want to talk about J.K. Rowling. With J.K. Rowling, I am so disappointed because she was my idol, basically. I admired her so much and I loved her and I loved her story. Taking Harry Potter out of the equation, I love J.K. Rowling. I absolutely loved her and admired her because I feel like as somebody who loves to write and aspires to be a published author, I could only dream of having people love my stories the way that people love hers. My life would be complete if I wrote a story and people loved it as much as they loved Harry Potter. The way we take quizzes, we buy merch, we talk about our houses, our favourite characters. There is so much to that world that we all love, and I could only dream of having someone love my stories the way that they love hers. So I admired her. I admired her so much. Her story, that she was a struggling single mother who came up with this boy who lived in a cupboard under the stairs. She came up with the idea when she was on like a train journey. She wrote it on napkins. The story of Harry Potter was born, and it made her millions. It made her famous. She was one of the best known authors of our lifetime. That is such an empowering story. And now I just feel like that is tarnished for me forever. I admire her still for what she was able to achieve, but she's no longer my idol. And I no longer respect her. I just can't really support someone that feels the need to speak so openly about trans issues. And the thing is, I feel like with being trans, being transgender, is that I'm not saying it's a new thing, but it's only really now being talked about on a larger scale. And even then, it's not as huge, so to speak, as like gay rights. It's one of those things I feel like maybe people are less accepting of, and it definitely does get tricky when you have people who want to insert their views in terms of biology. And that is where I feel like the subject of trans, for me personally, is a little bit, it's quite a sensitive subject, and I feel like you shouldn't really talk about it an awful lot unless you either are going through it yourself or you're educated enough to talk about this. So when people like J.K. Rowling, who have big followers, a big follow count, and then talk about this, it's obvious they're going to offend a lot of people. If something like I tweeted out about it, I have like 100 followers. Nobody would probably notice. People would pay attention. People who follow me would pay attention. But on a grand scheme of things, it almost wouldn't really matter because I'm not affecting. Not everybody is going to see that. But whereas with somebody with a huge platform, everybody could see that. Everybody on Twitter probably saw that because it was shared and retweeted. I'm not saying that anybody, even with a small platform, should tweet out anything that's racist, homophobic or transphobic, because that is, nobody should ever put those things on the internet. If you feel that way about it, if that is the way that you do feel, I'm not going to invalidate your thought. car, please. I'm not going to invalidate your thoughts, but it's not even an opinion. It's not an opinion when it's regarding someone's way of life. It's not a choice, and it's not an opinion. But I do feel like if that's the way you've been raised, or if that's just the way you feel that you're not accepting of trans people, fine. Fine. That's on you. That's who you are as a person. But why feel the need to post that online for people to see? For people who are trans to then see that and then feel horrified or feel sad or feel like someone, and especially someone with a massive following, to sit. I opened my window because it's really hot, but now all I can hear is the traffic. To put this out there, and if people love J.K. Rowling and they're also trans, and you read that article and you felt invalidated, is that a word? If you suddenly felt like you were invalid, or she was trying to say that you are not a woman, I'm sorry. I am so sorry that people, not even just J.K. Rowling, but people in general, feel the need to say these kind of things and put them online. I am sorry if anything that she said made you feel like you are not valid. You are valid. You're a woman, you're a man, you are who you choose to be. It's not a choice. I just said it's not a choice to be. But we are who we choose to be. You are you. And don't ever let anybody tell you that you're not valid. You do. You matter. Moving forward with this, I feel like I have a lot of thoughts. I'm also very torn, and that is a very hard thing, I feel, to admit to, because the last thing I want to do is offend anybody, and the last thing I want to do is to make this video say, well, I don't like J.K. Rowling, I don't like what she said, she's transphobic, I don't support her, but then I start making videos about Harry Potter. It's a very, very difficult situation, and it is going to be a difficult situation because there are channels out there specifically catered for Harry Potter content. There are people out there who make Harry Potter related videos. There are people out there who are collectors, collect merch. I feel like, okay, moving forward, there are many different ways that we can handle this as people, as a community. There's the people who want to completely turn their back on everything Harry Potter, everything J.K. Rowling, and that is fine. If you want to get rid of your books, get rid of all your merch, that is fine. I commend you for that. There are people like me who you feel heartbroken. Something that was so important in your life is now tarnished. I have a lot of merch, I have the books. I was currently rereading the books, as I said, so I find that is... I'm not going to reread them at the moment, and I was also planning on doing videos on the Harry Potter books. I already did my review on Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I was getting ready to do my review for Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets when all this kind of kicked off, so I held back from doing that, and I'm still currently undecided about whether or not I will ever do them. I definitely won't do them right now because it is not the time, 100% not the time. Okay, so I've currently I've changed location because I kept getting interrupted when I was trying to film. Kept getting interrupted when I'm trying to film, so I've moved to a quieter spot in the house. Going back to what I was saying, so I feel like, yeah, people like me who are more torn with the series and don't really know what to do moving forward. It's almost like I don't really want to just give up Harry Potter, which sounds horrible because realistically, if it was anything else, if it was any other book, I guarantee you the whole community would shun the book or the series. But there's something about Harry Potter, it's like, this has been part of our childhood and it is huge. So it's a very difficult situation. I do feel like in some sense there is, I know that the girl in the video defending J.K. Rowling kind of touched upon this as well, just saying about like separating art from the artist. Can it be done? I don't know. I feel like it can be done. If you want to keep loving Harry Potter, I feel like you can. There's a level of, if you already have the books, you can keep reading them. If you already have the movies, you can keep watching them. If you have merch, you can keep it, you can still love it. There are ways of getting more merch that isn't maybe affiliated with JKR. Maybe it's like sort of people have made them themselves on Etsy, or I know that people like, I'll make Harry Potter stuff all the time. I don't know about the supermarkets, like whenever the shops sell thongs. Whenever shops sell things like Primark, I just bought some stuff like from Aldi that was supposed to be like Harry Potter. Like, does J.K. Rowling get a cut of that? I don't know how it really works, but I feel like if you do want to keep loving this series, you can do it without supporting JKR directly. And that's probably where I'm gonna stand on this, is that I will continue to love Harry Potter. I just won't support it. I won't be buying merch, especially stuff that comes directly from her or that would fill her pockets in any way. I'm gonna keep reading the books, but for the time being I'm gonna just leave it alone. It's not the time to be saying like, okay, so I don't condone what J.K. Rowling has done. However, here's a review in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I feel like that's just, it's not really appropriate, so I'm gonna just leave my Harry Potter related content at that. I did actually have a video filmed from a few weeks ago, or even like a month ago, when I did my Pottermore, or is it Pottermore? I did my my sorting house quiz, and I posted that, and in the same day that I was doing that I filmed a Patronus quiz from the same site, and I never ever got around to uploading it. It took me ages before I finally edited it, and then I finally edited it and I had it sitting ready to go, but then all this happened. I thought, well, I'm not going to upload that, and it's still just sitting there on my computer, so I'm just going to hold on to that one. Maybe someday I might just upload it randomly, but I'll still have brown hair in it. But for the time being, I'm not going to upload it either. I'll just hold on to it. It was only like a short, like 10-minute video. Also as well though, if you want to keep loving Harry Potter and just keep making your normal content, reviews, DIY videos, whatever, showing off your merch, if you're mostly a Harry Potter channel or all your content is Harry Potter related, then keep going. Unless you, of course, you want to stop. But if you want to keep going, because I guarantee you, there are times where I look at Harry Potter and I don't instantly think of J.K. Rowling, and I forget. I suppose that means in my head I am separating the art from the artist. However, I feel like it's important that we don't just completely brush aside what she does, what she's done, just because we love Harry Potter. So I feel like if you want to keep making your content because it's Harry Potter related, that is fine. Keep doing you. If you want to keep buying books, merch, etc., that is your choice, and no one can take that away from you. So I do feel like the entire subject as a whole, it is a very difficult one. However, the main point that I want to make in all of this is that no matter what happens, no matter how much we push it, brush it under the rug and continue to keep loving Harry Potter, I feel like we can never forget what JK has said, what she's done. It can never just be pushed aside just because we love Harry Potter. And I definitely feel like trans people, the subject of trans issues comes first over Harry Potter. Because at the end of the day, he's not real, the world's not real, but trans people are. I swear to God, I'm constantly getting interrupted. I really can't remember now if there was anything else I wanted to touch upon. I'm not sure if there was anything else in that video that I saw. The girl made her own points and I listened to them. If you want to defend J.K. Rowling, that's on you. That is on you. I saw this thing on Facebook the other day. I can't remember how the quote went, but basically it was saying like, you can't have an opinion on racism. You can't have an opinion on homosexuality, and you can't have an opinion on transgender, because it's not an opinion, it's a way of life. It's their life. Maybe you disagree with it, but that only makes you racist, it makes you homophobic, and it makes you transphobic. I'm probably just going to end this video here because it's already getting quite long and I'm worried that I'm just going to get onto too much of a tangent. I wanted this video more to be based on J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter and how I felt about the two, but then the video came out, so it kind of changed a little bit. Definitely as well, like, I feel like she chose the wrong time to start tweeting about this when there's so much already going on with the Black Lives Matter movement, like, and the protests. This was not the time. It's never the time to be transphobic. But it especially was not the time, because everybody is already so heated with everything that is going on right now. We've just had enough. We've had enough. I've had enough. Everybody's had enough. I've had enough of racism, of homophobia, of transphobia. It's just not right. It's not good enough anymore. Yes, I believe in freedom of speech, but when you're using that speech to be hateful to people who just want to live their life the way they choose, the way they want, who are you to take that away from them and say that they are not valid? that's all I'm going to say now. Thank you, thank you so much for watching this video. It's a little bit rambly because I never made any notes or anything. I don't even know if what I'm saying comes across in a good light. I don't know. That's one thing. This is why I don't really talk about the subject too much, because I'm always worried that I'm not educated enough and I'll maybe say the wrong thing. That is the last thing I would ever want to do. So please, please, please be a good human being. And I would advise you to maybe stop supporting JKR at this stage. I won't force you to stop supporting Harry Potter if you don't want to. That's your choice. I'll just be crying into my copy of Goblet of Fire as I wonder what went wrong. What went wrong? I'm so disappointed. I really am. So thank you again for watching this little ranty video, and I shall see you in my next one, whatever that may be. Bye. Please be a good human being. Bye.